Hey, what's up guys, Syed here, and today I am in the 2012 Suzuki Swift Sport and I have the owner Roy beside me.
Hello.
So this is the manual Suzuki Swift Sport, by the way, so it's a unique kind of car. And just give you some specs for this car. Okay, this has a 1.6 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine producing about 134 horsepower and 160 Newton meters of torque. Okay, so let's get straight into the review. So Roy, tell us, why did you buy this car?
Okay, so first of all, when I just got my license, I was actually quite privileged, and I met my first car. Was actually my mom's second car, which is a Mazda MX-5.
Whoa.
Yeah, so yeah, I was very privileged. I'm very thankful for my mother.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that car was an automatic. So that car was a hell of fun to drive, no doubt about it.
MX-5, yep.
But you constantly feel like you're not at 100% fun. You feel like you're limited by
the power, is it?
The gearbox.
The gearbox.
I think it was the gearbox, and I think that
it's not a powerful car also to begin with, right?
Yeah, it's not a powerful car. So the handling with this car is actually very, very similar.
I see.
Yeah, very low power and very agile cars. But yeah, so that car was an automatic, and I had fun, but not a lot of fun with that car. So after that, the car got scrapped, and my mom got a Honda Civic after that. And she passed her then daily driver, because the Mazda MX-5 was the second car. The daily driver was a Lancer EX. She passed it on to me to drive. So the Lancer EX also is a 1.5, it's an automatic.
Oh, no power also.
And no power, it's a 4-speed automatic, and the gearbox was just sucks.
Okay.
So at that point, when I had chance to buy my own first car, I looked for a manual, and no doubt it had to be a manual. So I looked through SGCarlife a lot of times, and honestly, my first car I couldn't afford a Evo, I cannot afford a STI, I cannot afford a Type R. Exactly, they're all expensive cars. So the choices I've left with is very little. It's either I get like those
manual cars in Singapore, fun to drive. Yeah, you don't have a lot of choices.
Don't have a lot of choices. So it's either like those Lancer EX that's manual, or the old Lancer GLX, and those older manual cars that's not so powerful. Yep. If not, a Swift Sport. And that's when I thought like, okay, fine, I'll go for a Swift Sport, even though it's not my first choice. As personally, I'm not a fan of hot hatches. Okay. After I owned this car, my mind changed a bit lah. So that time I was looking through Suzuki Swift Sport. I was looking through a lot of the previous generation, the ZC32S, and
this one looks better. To me, ZC32.
I think this looks better too. Yeah. But my parents were against it because they were mostly COE cars. So they say that your first car, you shouldn't buy an old car. You'll spend a lot of maintenance, blah 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 blah. You know,
not
the typical.
Not entirely true, but yeah,
the typical older generation people they're thinking. So they insist that I'll get a haven't COE ended car. Then that was when my choices were so limited even more, because most of the COE cars, the manual cars are mostly COE cars. Yes. Like the old FN2 Type R, that was also in one of my choice lists. But it was also too expensive lah. And the Swift Sport, all this. So in the end, this was the only car in SGCarlife that's in manual. This is the only Swift Sport. This was the only one. Okay. So I decided to check it out lah. So it was quite amazing. Maybe because the salesperson sold me, but the day I saw this car, he brought me up for a test drive. You look at the interior, the engine bay, everything was beautiful. I placed a deposit straight away. So I was sold the first time I saw it.
So far you've owned this for about 1.5 years, right?
Correct, 1.5 years.
So what's the ownership experience like? Any reliability issues?
Okay,
stuff like that?
This car, there's not much reliability issues.
I don't think so, because
there isn't.
No turbo, no fancy electronics.
And the only time the only problem I had with this car was just a few months ago, my aircon compressor died.
Oh, okay. I mean, wear and tear lah.
Yeah, it's normal wear and tear, and then the valve cover gasket also died. The engine was like leaking oil at the side. That's the only thing I've done to it, and
wear and tear lah, basically.
Yeah, just wear and tear. This car is very, very reliable lah. There's really no issues with it. Manual, and you can't go wrong.
Yeah, the transmission. Yeah, correct.
Then for fuel consumption wise, Oh, this car is actually very, very friendly on fuel.
Okay.
When I just bought the car, initially the minimum rating was 95. So I've just used 95 when I just got the car. And I just felt like, I'm not sure whether it's in my mind or placebo or anything, but I feel like after I used 95, it wasn't as fast and as responsive as when I did a test drive on that day when I tried this car. So, and also I did calculations, like every tank, how much fuel I've pumped, how much mileage I've traveled. I only managed to get like 10 to 11 km per liter for this car. So after half a year, I started to pump 98 constantly.
I see. You feel the difference?
I felt the difference. So again, not sure whether is it placebo, but I did think that the response is a lot better, and mathematically the mileage increased. I managed to hit like 12 km per liter, but that's with like super spirited driving. I rev my engine the red line like quite often and then there was once I tried to be disciplined. I did like just don't get it above 2.5k RPM. I managed to even get 14 km per liter on 98 run.
So if let's say you pump 98 and you drive normally, your mileage will be around
maybe 13, 14.
13, 14. Okay lah, not bad lah.
Yeah, it's not bad. So yeah, this car actually saves a lot of fuel and it's a high compression engine, so I believe that 98 octane fuel is actually needed. Yeah, better for this car.
So what do you like about this car?
Okay, so first of all, it has to be the manual transmission.
Okay, yeah, agree.
It's very, very fun, and like a lot of people say, DCT is fast, CVT is very smooth, automatic is very good. Singapore, you don't need manual, blah 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 blah. Like, I don't care. Manual is fun.
Yep.
It's very, very fun, and the drive is very awesome. Like I've compared it like with my MX-5 previously. I just think that the drive is very direct. You can really feel everything. The tires, they are almost at like each corner of the car. So the drive is very, very amazing. Like every
go-kart kind of.
Yeah, correct. Go-kart kind of feeling. Your every steering input is very, very direct. There's like not much dead zone.
Yeah, that's true. You see,
there's not much dead zone.
I don't know whether the camera can capture this, but the car, you can feel the car
just swaying, just by a little bit.
Yeah, moving with you with every little input. Yep.
So the drive is very fun, and the engine is the throttle response is awesome. I'm not sure if you've tried it. Just suddenly just step a bit, you can feel that the engine is revving already. There's no lag. There's no transmission lag.
No turbo lag.
No turbo lag. Anything. It's like any engine. So the drive is perfect. It's decently powerful.
Yep.
It's not fast, not say fast. Slow, not say slow.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
Compared to your typical cars on the road.
But to point out, it feels faster than it actually is. Like it gives the impression that it's very fast.
Correct.
This car.
Because
maybe it's small. That's why.
Yeah, it's small, and then the engine loves the rev. So even if you're revving at like super high RPM, you are not breaking the speed limit, but you feel that the car is going.
So that adds to the fun factor.
Exactly, it's very, very fun.
So next, like, what do you dislike about this car?
Dislike, not much lah. A lot of people, they complain like the car is very small. But my biggest complaint is the boot. The boot is ridiculous.
It's very small, is it?
It's very, very small. Like, you go for grocery shoppings, I go to Giant, just one shopping tray you put in the boot is filled. I tell you, it's filled. You cannot put anything else.
The rear seats also not that big.
The rear seats is okay. You can fit 2 people at the back, fine. 3 people, a little bit squeezy. But so far I haven't had people complaining about. Yeah, the biggest dislike I have is the
space,
the space, the boot size. Okay, the performance, like I've said, fast not fast, slow not slow.
Yep.
So there's something to complain about the car also, like it's not fast enough. Yeah, I think that one of the it's not really a dislike, just maybe a pet peeve is it's not fast enough.
Okay.
Like for daily driving, for normal roads, it's perfectly fine. It's more than enough, the power. But like if you're a car enthusiast, you want to go for spirited driving, yeah, it's not fast enough lah. But well, it's also good enough because, like I said, you can redline it and you're still in speed limit. That's the fun thing about it. Okay, the spare parts for this car is very hard to find because there's not a lot of this car in Singapore. But the previous generation one, there's tons of it. So, like that time my compressor spoiled, I had to look for several shops to find whether if they carry my car's compressor.
Did you try going to like a scrapyard or?
No, I didn't. I just went to a direct aircon workshop.
I see.
So most of them, they had the previous generation Swift Sport, but they don't have this one. It's not compatible.
Okay.
And it's quite weird also, the way Suzuki they do things is the previous car and the current car, some of the spare parts they really don't fit. Even though they are like the same engine. The engine is only the same. It's the same M16A engine, but everything else they don't fit.
Okay.
So I had a lot of hard time looking for spare parts, and especially if you want to modify this car, then you're like sometimes you want to look for hand-me-downs, like for like maybe body kit, etc. You couldn't find any in Singapore. It's just so rare. And then if you really want to play with this kind of modifier, you have to spend a lot of money lah. Everything import from Japan. And then the COE of this car is a whopping $58,000.
Your DP for this car, if I'm correct, is about 10k per year, right?
Correct.
Yeah, which is for what the car is, it's quite on the higher side lah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I know that had this car, they have already scrapped it, exported. They don't have it in Singapore anymore. So this car is actually getting more and more rare because there's no reason why dealers don't want to sell it, because they can't make any money from it. It's very expensive. Nobody wants to buy it because it's expensive. So it's getting lesser and lesser, and it's one of the things I don't like about it because you want to find parts is getting harder and harder.
Oh, that's quite a lot of things. Okay, so just to sum up, it's boot space number 1. Number 2, not slow, not fast. Number 3 is the spare parts.
Spare parts.
And number 4, the price.
The price.
But I mean, you already paid for it. So paying for it. Yeah. So not much you can do there.
There's not much I can do. Just keep driving it and paying for it.
So let's say people are thinking of getting this car. What do you have any other comments, or do you have any advice for them?
Just one sentence go for the previous gen one
The ZC31.
The 31S.
Why?
Because it's a lot cheaper. Right now they are all COE cars. The depreciation is so cheap.
And 6,000 or something.
Yeah, some is like maybe 5,000, 6,000. Their depreciation is really very cheap now, and the spare parts are everywhere. So let's say you buy the car, you want to modify the hell out of it. There are even people that they're upgrading their Swift Sport, then they are going to dekit all their stuff. You can just buy it straight away, and then we have a fully built Swift Sport that you can modify to your liking.
Why is the spare parts for the older generation easier to find than this?
Because I think one of the biggest reason why this car was so rare was the COE, and because the previous generation one was Cat A.
Oh.
This particular one I have is also Cat A because the law came in.
134 horsepower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The law came in 2014, but this was a 2012 model. So this car is still Cat A, but 2014 onwards, this car is Cat B.
So it became a bit too expensive.
Yeah, correct.
To buy. Okay.
Then the previous generation one.
Cat B.
So previous generation one is a lot cheaper. The parts are everywhere. If you really just want, if it's your first car or you want a car to play the hell of it, I think you should get the previous generation one.
Okay.
And reliability wise, there's not much reliability issues with this car. So you can just rest in peace. Not rest in peace.
Peace of mind.
Please have a peace of mind and just get the the previous generation one. Have a HKS exhaust. It's not only. And a HKS intake.
I see.
It's not too loud, not too soft, and
I think it's just nice.
It's just nice.
Yeah, just nice.
When you idle, it doesn't rumble, it doesn't go boom, 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 boom. It's not that obnoxious. And then when you rev it, you can hear the engine sound, the exhaust sounds.
I think just my thoughts overall, it's a fun car to drive. I mean, I've just been driving for I think a good maybe 20 minutes or something. So far, quite fun. We're gonna be driving it a bit more later on. Manual transmission, which is excellent. It's also very direct. The steering, it's very sharp. I think because the car is like what you said, the wheels are
at the corner.
Yeah, at the corner of the car, and the car is small also, and it's quite light also. If I'm correct, it's 1,000. I think one ton or something.
1,050 kg was
1,050.
Yeah, then
so it's
you can modify it to be lighter.
Yeah, so it's very light as well. Fuel consumption also, it's not bad for what it is. I think it's not bad. Not bad lah. But like what Roy mentioned, the space. Yeah, even just looking at the space, it doesn't look like there's a lot of space in the back.
It's not very fast, but it's fast enough.
Yeah, I feel like it's I feel like it's very fast. And with the exhaust, it's
perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, man. Oh, this is fun.
So initially when I got this car, before buying this car, I really never liked Swift Sport. Like I've said before, I don't like the shape, I don't like the size of it. But I couldn't figure out why there's such a huge cult following over Swift Sport in Singapore. Like there are like Swift Sport meetups, there's like a lot of people modifying their Swift the hell out of it, and that's why it's a very small car. Why are people doing that? Until I own one, then I realized that, oh damn, now I know why they love their Swift so much.
Yeah, it's like a, how to say, it's like a WRX, not say WRX, it's like value for money for what you're getting. That's how I would put it. The ride is actually quite smooth, as in comfortable.
Yeah, it's stock.
Yeah, it's quite comfortable, I have to say.
Compared to the previous generation one, from my understanding was this car is actually more tame. It's more, there's a little bit more creature comfort. And the previous generation is much more raw. It feels like a very race car kind of feel. That's why a lot of people they tend to prefer. They tend to prefer that one.
Yeah. So thanks Roy for sharing your ownership experience. Thanks guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this owner's review. Do like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next review.